Have you ever felt a kind of exhaustion so deep that not even a full night's sleep could fix it? As if no matter how much you rest, the heaviness doesn't leave your chest, and you wake up just as tired as when you went to bed. It feels physical, but deep down, you know it's not your body that's tired. It's your soul crying out for air. This is not just about sleep deprivation or stress. It's a silent message from the depths of your being. It's life whispering that something inside of you is out of alignment, that somewhere along the way, you stopped listening to what you truly need. This kind of fatigue isn't random. It's not simply caused by overwork or missing a few hours of rest. It's the result of a fracture between your body, your mind, and your spirit. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This exhaustion is just that. Your unconscious trying to reach you, using your body as a messenger. It's the voice of your ignored emotions, your suppressed truth, your postponed decisions. And when you refuse to listen, when you keep pushing through despite the inner resistance, your body takes over. It starts sending signals. Exhaustion becomes its cry for help. It tells you to pause, to look within, to finally listen. Perhaps there's a truth you've buried, a change you're afraid to make, a chapter you're not ready to close, or an emotion you've never allowed yourself to feel. And because you've avoided facing it, your system begins to collapse. Not suddenly, but little by little. You lose motivation. You feel disconnected. Life becomes mechanical. You move, but you don't feel alive. And here's what makes it worse. We live in a culture that encourages you to ignore these signs. You're told to drink more coffee, take energy supplements, exercise harder, or push through, because everyone feels tired. But no one tells you to look inward. No one teaches you that sometimes tiredness isn't a physical problem, but a spiritual one. That sometimes the weight on your shoulders isn't caused by the world, but by your own silence. Imagine your mind as an engine that never shuts down. It absorbs everything, every memory, every wound, every fear, every unspoken thought. Even when your body is still, your mind continues to process, to relive, to worry. And here's the truth. Your brain doesn't distinguish between real danger and imagined threat. Whether you're facing a real crisis or just imagining a worst-case scenario, your body reacts the same way. The same stress response is triggered, and cortisol, the stress hormone, starts flowing through your system. Cortisol was meant to protect you. It's the chemical that gets released when you're in danger. It helps you escape, survive, fight, react. But when your mind is constantly alert, because of anxiety, unresolved trauma, or unexpressed emotion, this hormone becomes toxic. It floods your body again and again, wearing down your nervous system, weakening your immune system, disrupting your sleep, and draining your vitality. And eventually, you don't just feel stressed, you feel empty. Negative thoughts become your background noise. Every what if, every fear, every mental replay of past pain activates this internal alarm. You live in survival mode without even realizing it. You begin to confuse this hypervigilant state for normal life. You think it's normal to feel tired all the time, normal to live with tight shoulders and shallow breaths, normal to feel numb, disconnected, and anxious. But it's not normal. It's just familiar. There's a big difference. Familiar doesn't mean healthy, and being used to something doesn't mean it's your truth. And this brings us to the most important realization. Exhaustion is not the problem. It's the symptom. It's not the enemy. It's the messenger. It's your soul waving a flag saying, "Something in here needs to be healed. But we've been trained to silence messengers, to cover symptoms, to run away from pain instead of asking what it wants to teach us. We're told to sleep more, drink more water, take vitamins, go to the gym. And while these things help, they are only part of the answer. Because if you don't get to the emotional root, if you don't ask yourself why you're tired, you'll keep living in cycles. Carl Jung reminded us that what we refuse to bring to the light becomes our fate. So if you don't stop and explore your exhaustion, it won't go away. It will shape your behavior, your choices, your relationships, your identity. And you'll call it bad luck or burnout, when really it's a wound asking to be healed. Think about the beliefs you've carried for years, beliefs that say you're not enough, that you're unworthy of rest, that success must come through sacrifice. These beliefs live in your muscles, in your breath, in your posture. They speak through your tension, your fatigue, your illnesses. The story you tell yourself becomes the story your body believes. And over time, your body starts to act accordingly. It lives in fear. It braces for impact. It forgets how to relax. But here's the good news. This story can be rewritten. You are not sentenced to live in exhaustion forever. You are not stuck in survival mode. You can unlearn what made you sick. You can decode the hidden language of your fatigue and transform it into wisdom. You can learn to listen again, to yourself, your needs, your pain, your intuition. This begins by asking yourself honest questions. What part of me have I been ignoring? What emotion have I pushed away because I didn't know how to feel it? What belief am I holding that keeps me in this loop of depletion? What conversation am I avoiding? What truth am I afraid to admit? Jung taught that transformation comes through integration, the conscious meeting of your light and your shadow. So don't rush to fix your tiredness. Sit with it. Let it speak. Let it unravel the parts of you that have been silent for too long. Because what's waiting on the other side of this fatigue is not just energy, it's clarity, renewal, and a deeper connection to who you really are. You don't need magic pills or external validation. You need courage, the courage to face yourself, to give yourself the rest that isn't just physical, but emotional and spiritual. To remember that being human is not about always doing, producing, achieving. It's about being present with your experience, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Jung spoke of the individuation process, the journey toward authenticity. It's the path of freeing yourself from the masks you've worn to fit in and reconnecting with your true self. And when you begin this journey, something within you starts to shift. The energy that was once drained by worries and fears begins to return to you. The first step to breaking this cycle is to come back to the present moment. Your mind has been running on autopilot for years, trapped between past and future, reliving what once was or fearing what might come. But the only way to reclaim your energy is to ground yourself in the now. One of the simplest yet most powerful practices is training your mind to focus on a single point. Sit somewhere quiet, no need to adopt any complicated posture. Find a fixed point in front of you and focus on it. Then, breathe deeply through your nose only, slowly inhaling and exhaling. Keep your attention on your breath and that point for 5 minutes. It may seem like a small exercise, but don't underestimate its effect. This simple habit trains your mind to break free from autopilot, reduce cortisol levels, and restore control over your inner state. You don't need hours of meditation to begin noticing changes. Just 5 minutes can make a difference, And if done consistently, you'll gradually feel your energy return, your mind quiet down, and your body respond with renewed vitality. Your exhaustion isn't a sentence, it's a signal. It's an invitation to wake up, to become aware of how you're living, and to take back control of your life. Fatigue, from this perspective, stops being an enemy and becomes a compass. It's not merely an annoyance to be erased with more sleep or stimulants. It's a message, a sign, showing you where things are out of balance, which emotions you've been ignoring, and where you're investing your energy without true meaning. Often, true exhaustion doesn't come only from a lack of sleep or working too much, but from living a life that isn't aligned with what you really want. Think about it. When you do something you're passionate about, when you feel inspired and in tune with your purpose, your energy flows naturally. You can work on it for hours without feeling drained. But when each day feels like a battle, when you live to meet others' expectations, when you stay in environments that suffocate your essence, your body suffers. Because exhaustion is not just physical, it's emotional, mental, and even spiritual. The fatigue you feel isn't a coincidence, and it's not simply because you work too hard or sleep too little. Often, burnout is your body and mind telling you that something in your life needs to change. Carl Jung spoke of the importance of listening to the unconscious because it holds the answers your conscious mind refuses to see. And one of the clearest signs that something is off balance is when exhaustion lingers even after resting. You might be forcing yourself down a path that doesn't fulfill you, whether in your job, lifestyle, or how you relate to the world. You may be pouring energy into relationships that only deplete you, that neither nourish you nor bring balance. You may be repressing emotions that need to be expressed because you were taught that feeling them is a weakness. All of this has a cost, and that cost shows up in your body as exhaustion. The issue isn't just the lack of rest. The real problem is the massive amount of energy you're wasting by maintaining a life that doesn't resonate with you. The key lies in listening to yourself. If you start paying attention to your own body and mind, if you give yourself permission to pause and examine what's truly draining your energy, you can completely transform your life experience. But to do this, you need to create space for internal observation, a quiet moment where you can honestly ask yourself, what part of my life is draining me? Am I living according to what I truly want? Or am I simply meeting other people's expectations? Am I suppressing emotions that need to be expressed? Which people, situations, or activities make me feel completely exhausted? Sometimes the real problem isn't a lack of energy. It's the emotional weight you carry without even realizing it. When you ignore what you feel, when you force yourself to keep going without asking why, when you try to fit into a mold that was never meant for you, internal resistance starts to build. A part of you wants to move forward, while another part clings tightly to what's familiar. One part of you craves change, but another fears the unknown. And that constant internal conflict drains your energy more than any physical effort ever could. One of the most effective ways to break free from exhaustion isn't just getting more sleep or taking a vacation, although that helps. It's writing, but not structured writing or journaling for someone else to read. I mean raw, unfiltered writing. Writing without rules, without judgment, without holding anything back. Why? Because most of the time, we're not even fully aware of what's draining us. We blame our job, our routine, or the stress of everyday life. But the truth is, there's a tangled web of thoughts, unspoken emotions, and hidden worries trapped in our minds, silently consuming our energy without us noticing. So how do you do this? Before going to sleep, take 5 minutes and write whatever comes to mind. It doesn't matter if your thoughts are scattered at first. It doesn't matter if you repeat words or if nothing makes sense. Write what you feel. Write what you think. Write what's bothering you. And if you don't know where to begin, try using prompts like, how did I really feel today? What thoughts kept circling in my mind all day long? Is there something I'm worried about, but avoiding? What do I want to express, but don't feel ready to say out loud? And if you still feel blocked, simply write, I don't know what to write, and let the words flow from there. There are no right or wrong answers. The important thing is to get it all out. Why does this work? Because writing makes you conscious of what you actually feel. What used to feel like chaos in your head suddenly takes shape. It becomes visible, recognizable, and most importantly, it becomes something you can release. Many times, we're not exhausted by what we do, but by what we keep locked inside, by the words left unspoken, by the emotions we refuse to confront, by the thoughts we endlessly replay without ever resolving. When you free your mind from built-up thoughts, you create space for new ideas, new emotions, and a new state of balance. Now tell me in the comments, have you ever tried writing as a way to clear your mind? How did it feel afterward? I'm reading. Most people think rest only means sleeping more. But real rest goes far beyond sleep. Rest also means letting go of what you no longer need. Resting means saying no to what drains you. Resting means allowing yourself to change direction if the path you're on no longer feels right. Resting is no longer fighting yourself. And finally, learning to listen. Because real exhaustion can't be healed by more sleep alone. It's healed by being more authentic, by being honest with yourself, and by reconnecting with who you really are. So the next time you feel a deep exhaustion, don't brush it off. Don't drown it out with coffee, noise, or endless distractions. Pause. Observe it. Ask yourself what it's trying to tell you. Your body doesn't lie. It's constantly sending you signals, whispers that turn into cries if you ignore them for too long. You just have to stop long enough to listen. Carl Jung spoke of the process of individuation, the path to becoming your most authentic self. But that path isn't easy. It requires shedding the layers of who you thought you were or who others told you to be in order to uncover the truth of who you actually are. And that takes energy, real energy. Every time you live your life according to someone else's expectations, every time you say yes when your soul is screaming no, every time you try to fit into a mold that was never meant for you, you're draining that energy. And exhaustion, it's how your body says, enough. This is where the power of conscious pauses comes in. Throughout the day, set a simple reminder on your phone. When it rings, stop for just 1 minute. Inhale deeply, exhale slowly, and repeat something gentle like, I am at peace with this present moment. It might seem insignificant at first, but these tiny pauses act like anchors, pulling you back to yourself before the tide of life carries you away again. When you give yourself even a moment to pause, to breathe, to let go of what was never yours to carry, your entire energy field shifts. And when your energy changes, your reality begins to change with it. Another root of chronic tiredness is the imbalance in the flow of giving and receiving. We live in a world that celebrates productivity, sacrifice, and selflessness, as if our value were measured only by how much we do for others. But true balance means learning to receive as much as we give. Ask yourself honestly, am I nurturing myself as much as I support others? If you're constantly giving but never receiving, it's only a matter of time before you feel empty. Taking care of yourself is not selfish, it's essential. Because when you're full, when you're recharged, you can give from a place of wholeness, not depletion. So next time someone asks something of you, stop for a moment. Ask yourself, do I actually have the energy to do this? And if the answer is no, allow yourself the grace to say it. Say no. Because remember this, you cannot give what you do not have. The fatigue you feel is not a flaw, not a failure. It's a message, a sacred invitation from your body and your soul to pay attention, to realign. Every small act of awareness, every pause you allow yourself, every time you honor your limits and say no when you need to, every moment you choose to recharge, it's all a way of telling yourself, I hear you, I honor you, I choose you. The path to a fuller life doesn't demand enormous changes. It begins with small acts of mindfulness and care. And every time you choose to take a deep breath, to listen to your inner voice, to place yourself first, not out of ego, but out of love, you are cultivating a space of inner power. And in that space, anything is possible. When we ignore the message behind our tiredness, we get caught in a loop of never-ending exhaustion. We begin to accept fatigue as a normal state of being. But it isn't. It never was. The body has quiet ways of telling us something is off, and if we don't listen, those whispers become shouts. Carl Jung taught that the unconscious is always trying to communicate with us through dreams, emotions, and physical symptoms. Fatigue is one of those messages. It's a subtle yet profound reminder that something in your life needs to shift. That's why it's essential to cultivate practices that bring you back into alignment. Here are 3 powerful tools you can start using today. First, journal your thoughts at the end of the day. Before bed, take 5 minutes to unload whatever is running through your mind. Don't try to be poetic. Don't worry about grammar. Just let it flow. This act alone can help release tension and prepare your mind for deep rest. Second, find an activity that makes you lose track of time, something that brings you fully into the present. It could be reading, painting, walking in nature, or simply watching the clouds drift across the sky. These moments refill you. They reconnect you with your essence. Third, practice conscious pauses throughout your day. Set hourly reminders if needed. And when they go off, pause, breathe, repeat to yourself, I am at peace with the present moment. These pauses are not wasted time. They are vital check-ins. They help you reconnect with your body and prevent stress from silently building. The key is not to make massive changes overnight, but to build small, intentional habits that gently return you to yourself. Fatigue isn't your enemy. It's your compass. It's the way your body and mind plead with you to stop running on autopilot and start living with awareness. We live in a world that glorifies hustle, that equates rest with laziness, that makes us feel guilty for slowing down. But here's the truth. Rest is not a waste of time. Rest is how you gather strength for what truly matters. So ask yourself, am I investing my energy into things that nourish me? Or am I stuck in routines that drain me? And more importantly, what small change can I make today to reconnect with myself? If you've made it this far, leave a comment that says, I reclaim my energy, so I can greet you in the next video. And if this message resonated with your soul, don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications. We're going to keep diving into insights that help awaken your deepest potential. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, protect your peace, protect your energy, and always keep your mindset unshakable. Have you ever noticed how, at times, life seems to conspire to bring you exactly what you need, precisely when you need it? That phone call that arrives when you're at your lowest. That book you randomly pick up, only to find within its pages the exact answers you've been searching for. Or that person who enters your life at the precise moment when you believed you were utterly alone. What if I told you this wasn't mere coincidence? Today, I want to reveal to you the deepest secret Carl Jung uncovered, one that explains how the universe truly works and why nothing that happens to you is ever random. I promise that by the end of this video, you'll understand why your life has unfolded the way it has, and even more importantly, how you can begin to consciously create the synchronicities that will reshape your reality. Now imagine for a moment that you could decode the signs the universe is constantly sending you, that you could interpret the hidden messages behind every encounter, every obstacle, every unexpected opportunity. Jung discovered that there is an invisible principle connecting every single event in our lives, an unseen thread weaving together every experience with a larger, more profound purpose. And once you begin to recognize this pattern, life stops appearing as a chaotic series of random events and starts to look like a beautifully orchestrated symphony. The first great truth Jung uncovered is this: your external world is a direct reflection of your internal world. Every person who crosses your path, every situation you face, every challenge that arises, it's not by chance. It's not meaningless. Each of these moments exists because your psyche needs to experience something in particular, whether it's for healing, for growth, or for evolution. Jung called this phenomenon synchronicity, but in truth, what he was describing was the way in which our unconscious mind communicates with us through external reality. Think of it this way: if you're constantly attracting people who betray you, that's not bad luck. It's your inner self sending you a message. It's showing you that there's a part of you that still doesn't trust yourself. If you keep finding yourself in situations where you feel invisible or ignored, it's not necessarily because the world is cruel. It may be because there's a part of you that has become invisible to yourself. Jung understood that what we project outward is returned to us, amplified, because the universe functions as a vast echo chamber of our inner state. It's like the universe is holding a mirror to your soul, showing you in every moment what still needs to be acknowledged, accepted, or transformed. Here's a powerful exercise. For the next 3 days, just before going to bed, ask yourself, what recurring pattern showed up in my interactions today? Did you feel rejected, controlled, ignored, admired? Whatever emotion repeated itself is not random. It's a message, a clue about what your soul is trying to process. Write it down. Then ask yourself, in what ways do I treat myself in the same manner I experienced from others today? This single reflection can open a door to profound inner awareness, because the truth is, you have far more control over your reality than you've ever imagined. Each synchronicity is not just an odd coincidence, it's an invitation from the universe to awaken to a truth about yourself that you've been avoiding. And when you begin to answer these invitations with honesty and courage, everything changes. But this brings us to Jung's second, and perhaps most unsettling discovery. The reason most people cannot create the synchronicities they want is because they are trapped in something Jung called identification with the false self or the persona. This is the mask you wear to fit into society, to gain approval, to avoid rejection. You spend your life trying to be who you think you should be, rather than discovering who you truly are. And as long as you cling to this mask, the universe cannot deliver to you what your soul really needs. Jung discovered that all of us carry within us a hidden part, a side we've rejected, denied, or buried so deeply we no longer recognize it. He called it the shadow. And here's the key. The shadow isn't evil. It isn't something to fear. It's simply the part of you that you haven't yet integrated. It contains your deepest wounds, but also your greatest gifts. It holds your repressed anger, but also your power. It carries your shame, but also your potential. Until you face it, your shadow will continue to show up in your reality, in your relationships, in your triggers, in your fears and failures, because the universe must keep sending you reflections of what you've disowned, until you finally decide to bring it into the light. Jung believed that true transformation begins the moment you stop running from the parts of yourself that make you uncomfortable. When you have the courage to look within and say, "This too is me." That is when you begin to reclaim your wholeness. And here's the beautiful irony. The more you accept your darkness, the more light you become. When you stop pretending to be perfect, you become real. When you embrace your brokenness, you become whole. And once you reach that level of authenticity, synchronicities begin to accelerate. Life begins to flow. The right people show up. The right opportunities arise. It's as if the universe finally recognizes you because you have finally recognized yourself. So if you're watching this and wondering why your life feels disconnected, why things aren't clicking, why the signs never seem to come, it may be time to stop asking for signs and start becoming someone who can read them. It may be time to ask not, "What does the universe want to tell me?" but "What part of me have I silenced?" Because everything you experience in the outer world is trying to awaken something in your inner world. And when you align the two, that's when the magic begins. Everything you reject about yourself becomes the most powerful magnet in your life. If you deny your anger, you'll attract angry people. If you suppress your vulnerability, life will place you in situations that force you to open up. If you hide your power, you'll constantly encounter circumstances that make you feel powerless. This isn't a punishment, it's a mirror, a sacred mechanism through which the universe brings to light the very aspects of yourself you've buried or refused to embrace. Synchronicity doesn't operate through your conscious thoughts. It moves through the deeper layers of your being, the unconscious terrain you rarely visit and hardly understand. That's why, so often, we ask for something and receive the complete opposite. It's not because the universe isn't listening. It's because your deeper self, your soul, knows what you truly need, far beyond what your ego believes it wants. Let me give you an example that's painfully real. Maybe you've met someone who constantly says they want a healthy relationship. They claim to be tired of toxicity. They swear they're going to make better choices this time. And yet time after time, they end up with the same kind of person. Manipulative, distant, or emotionally unavailable. Why does this keep happening? Because deep within them, there's a wound that hasn't healed. And this wound has a magnetic pull. It doesn't draw in partners to harm them, but rather to awaken them, to force them to confront what they've been avoiding in themselves. Life isn't punishing them. It's insisting they pay attention. Now comes your second exercise. And I'll be honest, it might feel uncomfortable. Think about the last time you said, "Why does this keep happening to me?" Instead of pointing the finger at someone else or blaming the situation, ask yourself this: what part of me is creating this pattern? What aspect of my personality, one I may have rejected, is being reflected through this experience? Say this phrase to yourself: everything that irritates me about others is revealing something I need to understand about myself. Yes, it's a hard pill to swallow, but this is the line that separates those who live as victims of fate from those who choose to become conscious creators of their reality. When you begin to accept that even the painful synchronicities are trying to show you something, you stop resisting. You stop swimming against the current. Instead, you begin to collaborate with the universe rather than fighting against it. And if you've made it this far, and something about all this is starting to resonate with you, I invite you to stay with me, because what comes next can shift the way you see your life entirely. Now we arrive at the third principle, and it's the one Carl Jung considered to be the most liberating of all. There is a sacred, one-of-a-kind purpose for your existence, a purpose that only you can fulfill. Jung called this process individuation. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming who you truly are, who you were meant to be before the world told you otherwise. The universe is not indifferent to this mission. It conspires in strange and often unexpected ways to help you fulfill it. Every setback you've encountered, every loss you've suffered, every lonely or confusing moment, it wasn't random. It was all part of a carefully orchestrated design to sculpt you into the kind of person who could embody that unique purpose. Jung understood that life doesn't move in a straight line toward happiness. It moves in spirals, and with each loop, every apparent step backward is actually a preparation for an even greater leap forward. Think back to a time in your life that you considered your darkest hour, that betrayal that shattered your trust, that loss that brought you to your knees, that moment when it all seemed pointless. And now, with the distance of time, you can probably see it more clearly. That very experience forced you to grow a strength, a depth, a wisdom that you didn't possess before. It wasn't accidental. It was your soul navigating you toward exactly where you needed to go. And here's what most people never realize. Your purpose isn't something you need to search for. It's something you already are. But it's been buried beneath layers of fear, shame, societal expectation, and false identity. Jung discovered that individuation is not an act of adding to the self. It's an act of peeling away, not becoming someone new, but removing everything you are not, until only your truest essence remains. Every synchronicity you encounter is an invitation to shed one of those layers. That person who entered your life and reflected your potential back to you. That book that appeared at the perfect moment. That opportunity that emerged just when you were ready to take the next step. The universe isn't toying with you. It's co-creating with you, coaxing you into becoming who you truly are. Your third exercise is this. Every morning, before checking your phone, before diving into the noise of the day, take just 5 minutes to ask yourself, who am I, really, beyond my roles, my labels, my past? Don't force a mental answer. Just sit with the question. Let whatever arises, arise. And throughout the day, when you feel you're acting from a place of truth, write it down. Those authentic moments are the breadcrumbs the universe is leaving for you. Clues pointing toward your deeper purpose. Which brings us now to the fourth principle, and this is where things get truly mystical. Jung found that when you begin living in alignment with your authentic self, something remarkable happens. Your perception changes. You start noticing connections that were always there, but previously invisible to you. You begin receiving information not only through your five senses, but through an expanded intuition that plugs you into a universal field of knowledge. It's as if you become a finely tuned antenna, sensitive, receptive, open. The signals from the universe have always been there, but now, with less inner noise, you can actually perceive them. Jung himself lived this. He began having prophetic dreams. He noticed synchronicities so precise and frequent that chance could no longer explain them. And he understood something that few are willing to believe. This capacity for deeper perception is not a gift reserved for a chosen few. It is your natural state, but you can only access it when you stop resisting who you are, when you stop pretending, when you allow yourself to be fully, unapologetically you. As you surrender to your essence, your awareness expands. You no longer move blindly through life, reacting. You begin to live with clarity, with alignment, with trust. And that is when the true magic begins. Not the kind you see in movies, but the real kind. The kind that comes from within. The kind that changes everything. Have you noticed that when you're in love, when you're following your passion, when you're doing something you truly enjoy, coincidences seem to multiply, perfect encounters appear, opportunities show up out of nowhere, and answers come just when you need them? That's not a random occurrence. It's your natural self operating at its optimal frequency. It means you've tapped into an intelligent universe that responds to your state of consciousness. When you vibrate from fear, scarcity, or mistrust, that's the kind of reality you magnetize. But when you radiate love, abundance, and trust in life, it's as if the entire universe begins to conspire in your favor. The fourth exercise is radical, but deeply transformative. For one whole week, every time you face a decision, no matter how small, ask yourself, what would I choose if I fully believed that the universe is on my side? And then choose that, not from logic, not from fear, but from that deep inner trust. Pay attention to what happens. Watch the kind of synchronicities that begin to show up when you operate from this level of trust. Repeat this mantra every morning. I trust that everything I need will arrive at the perfect time and in the perfect way. This isn't magical thinking. It's a recognition of a universal law that Jung spent his life studying and proving. Do you feel like something inside you is shifting as you take in this message? Can you sense your perspective on life starting to expand? If this content resonates with you, share it with someone you know needs to hear this message. Sometimes, we are the channel the universe uses to create synchronicity in someone else's life. And now we arrive at the fifth and final principle, the most powerful of them all. Jung discovered that at some point in every person's life, everything aligns. All past experiences, every lesson, every healed wound, and all your developed strengths converge into one moment of absolute power. He called it the moment of self-realization. It's the moment when you stop being who you thought you were and become who you were always meant to be. And here's what's extraordinary. When this moment arrives, synchronicities are no longer rare. They become your normal way of navigating reality. You begin to live in a constant state of flow, where every step you take is guided by wisdom far beyond the individual mind. But this moment doesn't arrive by chance. It comes when you've done the necessary inner work, when you've faced your shadow, stopped resisting your authentic nature, and developed the courage to follow your inner guidance over external expectations. When you've learned to interpret the signs the universe keeps sending you. Jung understood that this is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of an entirely new way of existing. It's when you become a conscious collaborator with the universe rather than a passive observer. Your life becomes a masterpiece where every brushstroke, every color, every texture is perfectly orchestrated to create something unique and unrepeatable. Can you imagine living like that? Can you imagine waking up every day knowing that everything you need for your growth and fulfillment will come exactly when it's meant to? Can you imagine making decisions not from fear of what's to come, but from complete trust that you're being guided toward your highest good? This is not fantasy. Jung documented hundreds of cases of people who reached this level of synchronicity in their lives, and they all had one thing in common. They had learned to trust the higher intelligence working through them, instead of trying to control life with their limited individual mind. And the final exercise is the most important of them all. Each night, before going to sleep, review your day and find at least 3 moments where you can clearly see the invisible hand of the universe working in your favor. It could be something as small as hitting a green light just when you were in a rush, or something as profound as hearing exactly the words you needed from a complete stranger. Train your mind to notice synchronicity. What you acknowledge begins to grow. Repeat this statement every night. I recognize that I live in an intelligent and loving universe that is constantly conspiring for my highest good. I am open to receiving all the signs, opportunities, and blessings that are flowing toward me right now. Jung discovered that the secret of synchronicity isn't that the universe changes to fit us. It's that we change to align ourselves with the natural flow of the universe. And when that happens, what we once called magic stops being rare and becomes the norm. I want you to understand something fundamental. Everything I've shared with you today is not abstract theory. It is practical knowledge that can radically transform your life if you choose to apply it. Jung, a brilliant psychologist, was a scientist of consciousness who uncovered the invisible laws that govern human experience. The great truth we've uncovered together today is this: nothing in your life is random. Everything is connected by an invisible thread of meaning that weaves every experience, every encounter, every apparent coincidence into a tapestry designed for your growth and fulfillment. Your role is not to resist this design, but to learn how to read it, interpret it, and consciously collaborate with it. When you begin to live from this understanding, life no longer feels like a struggle against circumstances. It becomes a graceful dance with the universe. You stop being a victim of fate and become a co-creator of your reality. And those synchronicities you used to see as rare miracles start to become your natural way of moving through existence. But here lies the final key. This knowledge only has power if you act on it. If you allow it to remain at the level of intellect, nothing will change in your life. Real transformation happens when you confidently decide to live as though the universe is truly on your side, because it is. That's why I want you to do something right now. In the comments of this video, write, "I choose to trust the synchronicities in my life." Don't write it from your head. Write it from your heart, as a declaration of intention to the universe, as a way of saying you're ready to receive all the signs, the opportunities, and the blessings that it's been trying to send you. And when you see other comments with the same statement, give them a like, because in doing so, we create a group synchronicity, a collective signal to the universe that we are awakening, that we are ready to live from a higher level of awareness. Jung understood that the evolution of human consciousness is not an individual event. It's a collective phenomenon that accelerates when awakened, people recognize each other and support each other's growth. By writing that declaration and uplifting others who do the same, you become part of a global community of people choosing to live consciously. And if this video has stirred something inside you, if you feel like you've received exactly the message you needed today, that is no coincidence. It's a synchronicity. The universe used this channel to deliver information your soul had been asking for. And if that's the case, your mission now is to become a channel for this message to reach others who need it. Share this video with someone you know who is going through a hard time. Someone who needs to be reminded that they are not alone on this journey. There's someone out there, maybe it's you, who needs to hear this right now. Someone who needs to understand that everything they are experiencing has a sacred purpose, that nothing is random. Not the pain, not the joy, not the delays, not the encounters, not even the silence. Everything in your life is part of a larger design, carefully orchestrated by an intelligence that sees far beyond what your mind can grasp. Every struggle, every unanswered question, every door that closed on you, it all has meaning, even if you can't see it yet. You are not lost. You are being led. And perhaps just by watching this video, a subtle shift is beginning to occur in your perception. Maybe this is not just another video. Maybe it's a moment of awakening, a moment of recognition, a moment of truth. So allow me to tell you this from the deepest sincerity. Become an instrument of synchronicity in the lives of others, the way someone or something once was for you. Open your heart to the idea that you are not here by accident, and neither are the people you encounter along your journey. You can be the reminder someone needs, the light in someone else's darkness. You can become a channel for something greater than yourself. That's what we do here. That's what this space is for. If this resonates with you, if something in your soul feels like it's remembering what it came here for, then subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell. Not because it's just another digital ritual, but because every week I share tools for personal transformation that are rooted in the timeless wisdom of Carl Jung and other masters of consciousness. This is not superficial content. It is not fast food spirituality. It's deep nourishment for the soul, knowledge that can radically transform your experience of reality if you're willing to receive it and apply it. Because here's the truth. The moment you decide to live consciously, truly, wholeheartedly, you activate a new timeline for your life. The moment you choose to trust in synchronicity, instead of forcing or resisting, you enter into flow. And once you do, nothing is ever the same again. Suddenly, the signs become undeniable. Patterns start to make sense. The same numbers appear. The right people show up. The path begins to reveal itself. The opportunities multiply. The relationships deepen. Resources you never imagined begin to appear. And little by little, one synchronicity at a time, you begin to embody the highest version of yourself. You begin to walk the path you were always meant to walk. With clarity, with trust, with power. Your new life is not some distant fantasy. It is already on its way to you. Right now, in this very moment, the universe is aligning everything you need. Every piece, every lesson, every person, every blessing. It's all coming together, not by force, not by chance, but by design. And the only thing left is your yes, that sacred decision to trust, to stop doubting your path, to stop living from fear and start living from certainty. The certainty that you are loved, supported, and divinely guided by a consciousness far more vast and loving than anything you could ever imagine. A consciousness that wants to see you rise, that wants to see you bloom into your full expression. Synchronicity is not magic. It is the natural rhythm of life when you choose to live authentically, when you stop pretending, when you stop running, when you finally return to who you really are. And that return can happen now, not tomorrow, not in some perfect future, but now, in this breath, in this choice. This could be the moment when everything changes, not because something external shifted, but because you did. So if you're ready, if your soul is whispering yes, then trust it. Your transformation has already begun. Have you ever felt like your body is trying to tell you something, but you just can't figure out what it's saying? A persistent pain, a strange tension, an illness that comes out of nowhere and doesn't make any logical sense. Carl Jung believed that the body is the physical reflection of the psyche. In other words, every symptom, every discomfort, every strange ache is not just a random event. It's a deep message from your unconscious mind, a signal that something within you is calling out to be acknowledged. But here's the problem. Most people don't listen. They ignore the signs, cover them with medication, dismiss them as normal, or worst of all, get used to living with them as if that suffering was just part of being alive. They don't realize something fundamental. The body doesn't get sick by accident. It gets sick because something inside is out of balance. Something needs attention, healing, and release. Today, we're going to uncover this hidden language, the secret code your body uses to communicate with you. We'll explore how unresolved emotions, buried traumas, and blocked energy often show up as physical symptoms. And more importantly, I'm going to show you how to begin releasing that pain from its root. Stay until the end, because once you understand this, it might completely change the way you see your health, your body, and your inner world, forever. Let's begin with the idea of the body as a mirror of the soul. Every part of your body holds symbolic meaning. There are no coincidences. The discomforts and pains that arise often do so during periods of emotional or psychological stress. Think about the last time you had a headache. Were you overwhelmed, under pressure, mentally exhausted? Headaches are frequently a manifestation of mental overload and anxiety. They're signals. Your mind is working at a pace your body can no longer handle. The connection between mind and body is profound. When we repress emotions, when we don't give them space to be felt and understood, they don't just vanish, they find another route to emerge. Jung once said, "What is not made conscious will manifest as fate." And in this context, what is not emotionally processed manifests physically. But instead of listening to these cries from within, many people just pop a pill and move on. They mask the symptom, ignore the root cause, and fall into the same loop over and over until the pain becomes chronic. The issue isn't just the pain itself, it's the habit of silencing the body's messages instead of tending to them. Healing isn't about living a life free from discomfort. It's about learning to understand the story behind each symptom. If a headache won't go away, maybe it's not your body needing medicine. It's your mind that's desperate for rest, for stillness, for peace. The solution isn't always external. Sometimes It's about creating space for inner quiet, questioning the expectations we place upon ourselves, releasing the invisible weight we've been carrying around. It's an invitation to pause, to breathe deeply, and to reconnect with what your body has been trying to tell you all along. Your intuition already knows this. The real question is, are you listening? Let's talk about the weight of unexpressed emotions. Your neck and shoulders do far more than carry the physical burdens of your day. They carry your emotional weight too. Carl Jung believed that what we repress doesn't disappear. It simply finds another form of expression. And often, that expression is through the body. How many times have you noticed your neck becoming tense when you feel stuck in life? When you feel powerless to change something important? Or when you're clinging to outdated beliefs that no longer serve you? Neck pain can be a clear signal from your inner self. You need more flexibility, not just in your muscles, but in your thoughts and in the way you approach life. You need to release control over things you cannot change and allow yourself to move with life instead of against it. And the shoulders? Their message is even more direct. Maybe you've become the strong one for everyone around you, the one who carries the weight, the one who holds everything together. But who carries you? Many of us grow up believing that asking for help is weakness. That strength means handling everything alone. But true strength is knowing when it's time to let go, when it's time to release the burden. Here's a simple practice. Next time you feel overwhelmed, close your eyes. Imagine placing that heavy load on the ground for just a moment. Take a deep breath. Feel your body without the weight. That single breath can remind you that life isn't just about enduring. It's also about resting, about allowing yourself to be supported. Now, let's move to your hands and arms, your connection to giving and receiving. These are the tools through which you interact with the world. You create, you embrace, you work, you express. But when you feel pain or tightness in your arms or hands, ask yourself, is there a balance in how you give and receive? Are you someone who finds it easier to give than to receive? So many people are. They offer love, care, and help without hesitation. But when it's their turn to accept those same things, they freeze. They feel guilt, discomfort. Pain in the arms may be your body's way of saying, you've been giving too much without allowing anything back in. And the hands, they symbolize your ability to hold on and let go. Is there something in your life you're gripping too tightly? A relationship, an identity, an expectation? Sometimes we hold on because the unknown scares us, but life flows. It's always in motion, and resisting that flow only creates tension, emotionally and physically. Here's a gentle exercise. Open your hands slowly, then close them. Do this a few times, with intention. As you open, imagine you're releasing everything you no longer need. As you close, imagine you're receiving something new, something that serves your growth. Transformation begins when you trust that what's meant for you will arrive in its own time. Now, the chest, a sacred space. More than just a physical region, it is the sanctuary of your deepest emotions. Every breath you take holds a memory. Every heartbeat echoes with stories you may not even remember. When your chest hurts, feels tight, or oppressed, it's rarely just physical. It often signals a trapped emotion, a grief that hasn't been processed, a heartbreak that still lingers, a loss you haven't fully accepted. So many people walk through life with an invisible weight on their chest. They smile, they function, but deep inside, something is aching to be seen, to be felt, to be released. Your chest may be holding a silent cry, a longing, a memory you never got to express. And the more you try to suppress it, the more it shows up. In your breath, in your energy, in your ability to connect. Jung believed that healing comes through integration, not rejection, not avoidance. When you finally allow yourself to feel, truly feel, that ache in your heart, without judgment or resistance, you open the door to real healing. So take a moment now, place your hand over your chest. Breathe in. Ask yourself, what am I still holding here? What needs to be released? What memory still seeks closure? This isn't about fixing yourself. You're not broken. It's about remembering that your body is your greatest ally. Your body doesn't lie. It speaks when words fail. And every symptom is an invitation to return to yourself, to tend to what was forgotten, to begin again from within. Carl Jung often spoke about the importance of integrating our emotions rather than repressing them. According to him, whatever we refuse to face doesn't disappear. It transforms into a shadow that quietly follows us, shaping our behavior from the unconscious. Think about this. How many times have you felt a tight knot in your chest when recalling a memory that still hurts? How many emotions have you silenced just because you were afraid to feel them? That pressure in your chest might not just be physical. It could be a manifestation of feeling unheard, of having suppressed words that desperately needed to be spoken. Maybe you felt the weight of trying to live up to someone else's expectations. Maybe you've stayed in relationships that no longer nourish your spirit, simply because you were afraid to disappoint others. But here's the truth. The heart was never meant to carry unnecessary burdens. It was designed to beat freely, to guide us with clarity and intuition. If you're feeling a persistent heaviness in your chest, allow yourself a moment of deep introspection. Write down everything you've never dared to say, even if no one will ever read it. Cry if you need to. Let the tears flow, because crying isn't a sign of weakness. It's one of the most profound forms of emotional release. And when your heart releases what's been hurting it, your body responds with peace. The back, the pillar of our body, often reflects the emotional load we carry. It's no coincidence that when life becomes overwhelming, pain often settles in this area. The upper back, in particular, tends to accumulate tension when we take on responsibilities that aren't truly ours, when we become the emotional support system for everyone around us at the cost of our own well-being. Jung once said that the heaviest burden we carry is the person we think we're supposed to be. In other words, we exhaust ourselves trying to meet unrealistic standards. We put immense pressure on ourselves to not fail, to not let anyone down. But the body doesn't lie. If your back feels tight or sore, ask yourself, what am I carrying that no longer belongs to me? In the lower back, the emotional message shifts slightly. This region often holds our deepest fears, especially those related to financial security, stability, and the unknown future. It reflects our fear of not being in control, of not being enough, of the unpredictability that life throws at us. When tension arises here, it may be a silent alarm, telling you that you're carrying worries that are slowly draining your energy. One powerful exercise is to visualize that emotional burden as a backpack strapped to your back. Now imagine gently placing it on the ground. See yourself standing tall, without it. Take a deep breath and whisper to yourself, I don't have to carry everything. I trust life to support me. Relief doesn't always come from a stretch or a massage. It often comes from the conscious decision to let go of what is no longer serving us. Now consider your legs and feet. They represent your ability to move forward or to remain stuck. Our legs are what carry us through life, what propel us toward our goals. If you've been feeling heavy, tired, or achy in your legs, the message might be clear. Something is holding you back. Jung once said, "What we resist persists." This isn't just a psychological truth, it's a truth written in the way we walk through the world. Perhaps you've been postponing an important decision. Maybe you're clinging to a relationship, a job, or a habit that no longer brings value to your life. Maybe fear of the unknown has frozen you in place, trapping you in a cycle of inaction. But remember, the body doesn't lie. If your legs feel heavier than usual, ask yourself, what's really keeping me from moving forward? Your feet, meanwhile, are your anchor. They ground you to the earth and provide stability. Persistent foot pain can be a sign that you're feeling uncertain about the path you're on. Maybe you feel like you don't belong where you are, that you're walking a road that isn't truly yours. Maybe it's time to shift direction, but you haven't yet taken the first step. In many spiritual traditions, the feet are considered sacred. They symbolize our connection to the present moment. If you're feeling discomfort there, your body may be calling you back to the now. It might be asking you to stop worrying so much about the future and instead start trusting the unfolding journey of life. A simple but powerful practice is to walk barefoot for a few minutes. Pay attention to each step. Feel the texture of the ground beneath your feet. Imagine roots growing from your soles, deep into the earth. This grounding exercise can not only help restore emotional balance, but also reinforce your sense of security and inner stability. Ask yourself, what do I need to release in order to move forward freely? Because sometimes the issue isn't a lack of opportunity, it's the fear of embracing it. Let me tell you a story. In a small village nestled in the hills, there lived an old healer. He was known for a rare gift. He could understand what the body of each person was trying to say. One day, a young man came to him, grimacing in pain. "I've tried everything," the young man said, clutching his back, "but nothing makes the pain go away." The old healer looked at him quietly for a long moment, then asked, "Who are you carrying on your back?" The question struck the young man like a bolt of lightning. Suddenly, in the silence that followed, he realized he'd been taking on responsibilities that weren't his to bear. He had been living his life trying to please others, burying his own dreams, denying his own needs. The healer handed him a piece of paper and said softly, "Write down everything you've been carrying. All the guilt, the weight, the things you haven't been able to let go of." The young man obeyed. He wrote down everything that had been burdening his heart and body. When he finished, the healer nodded and said, "Now burn it. Watch how it disappears into the air." And so he did. As the paper turned to ash, a strange lightness washed over him, not just in his back, but deep in his soul. That's the power of release. That's the wisdom the body holds, if we're willing to listen. The young man did exactly what he was told. And with time, something incredible began to happen. His back stopped hurting. Not because the fire had any kind of magical power, but because little by little, he had learned to release what had been silently destroying him from the inside. You see, pain is never just physical. Behind every ache, behind every persistent tension, there is often something deeper, a message, a whisper from within that we so often ignore. Every pain you feel has an origin more profound than you may realize. Your body is not just a machine that breaks down randomly. It is an intelligent, living system, constantly communicating with you. And sometimes, the discomfort is not asking for a pill. It's begging you to listen, to truly listen. Because healing doesn't always come from medicine. Sometimes, it comes from the courage to let go of what weighs us down, of what drains us emotionally, of what we're still holding on to, even when it hurts. Ask yourself, what burdens could you release today? What parts of your life feel heavy, suffocating, or stagnant? It's not enough to simply treat the symptom. If you don't process the emotion behind the pain, it will keep returning, like a shadow you can't outrun. Over and over again, the body will speak louder until you pay attention. As Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. What he meant is that all the suppressed feelings, the denied truths, the repressed memories, they don't disappear. They become patterns. They become pain. They become your reality until you choose to face them. You can take all the treatments in the world. You can mask the pain with medication or distraction. But if you never stop to ask, what am I really feeling here? Then the true root of your suffering remains untouched. That's why the first real step toward healing isn't physical, it's emotional. It's asking yourself, what emotion is trapped in this part of my body? What have I not dared to feel? What have I buried so deeply that my body had to scream in order to get my attention? Take a moment now, pause, breathe deeply, close your eyes, and go inward. Ask yourself, with complete honesty, what emotion have I been avoiding? What truth have I not been willing to face? Maybe it's grief, maybe it's anger, maybe it's fear, and maybe it's all of them, wrapped together in silence. Healing begins in that silent recognition, not with judgment, but with understanding. Today, I invite you to take just one small step toward your own healing. In the comments, write the phrase, I release myself. Don't just type it out of habit. Feel it. Say it with intention. Let it carry weight. Because this act, as simple as it seems, is not just about words. It is about declaring to yourself that you are ready to stop carrying what has been silently breaking you. It's a promise, a quiet commitment to yourself, to your future, to your freedom. And the next time you feel tension rising in your shoulders, or a dull ache in your chest, or a pressure in your back that just won't go away, don't just push it aside. Pause. Listen. Remember, every pain has a message. Every discomfort holds a truth. And every signal from your body is an opportunity to awaken, to transform, to heal. Don't get trapped in suffering. Don't numb the signals. Don't ignore the call. Your body is your ally. It is asking for your attention, not your resistance. So now I ask you, which part of your body has been speaking to you lately? What emotion do you believe is hiding behind that discomfort? Share it with me in the comments. You never know who else might need to hear your story. And if you've made it all the way to this part of the video, write the keyword, conscious healing, so I can send you a special greeting in the next one. If this message resonated with you, if you found even a moment of clarity, peace, or reflection, subscribe and turn on notifications. There's more to explore. And remember, healing is not a destination. It's a path, and you're already on it. See you in the next video.